Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hotline League, the Travis and Mark edition. We decided to mix it up, not have a guest on this week, so that we could just, really speak to you guys all directly. We know that you guys have been tired of us having guests on recently, so we decided to do it just the two of us. Of course, the show is brought to you by Alienware. But first, let me introduce my constant co-host, Mark Zimmerman. How's it going, Mark?
It's going great. Yep. We decided this. You definitely text me at like noon today saying who should we get.
Well, you gave me pro players. Pro players never come on the show. Especially I feel like now it's going to be really hard to get them on Mondays.
Yeah, I mean that's true. But also we should try and get pro players because they are the whole reason that this esport kind of
I do like having pros on here. The problem is they can't ever answer half the things that we ask them. It's like, hey, what do you think about anything other than the meta? And they're like, well, I haven't really thought about that. What do you think about like you could literally do an episode that's
gameplay,
that's
like teams.
Yeah, I'm just saying we could do an episode that's literally like Riot is thinking about cutting the amount of teams in the league down to 5. And the pro players would be like, I don't really know, man. Like it's just my job to play. I don't really think about that stuff. I don't really have any control over it. So
Riot is going to make players play in cages and suspend them from the audience.
Well,
and they're like,
I think it's kind of dumb, but like it's not like I could do anything about it. Anyway, how you been, Mark? What's been going on with you?
Not much. It's a busy week. Short turnaround time with Super Week coming up this week. So that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, I don't think people even know that it's Super Week. Like people in the chat.
Think so either.
I don't think that like. Okay, so if I was a company and I owned an esports league, and there was a schedule change coming up, I would probably advertise that. And then if you had a Super Week where there's going to be additional games on a day that normally doesn't ever have games, I would probably advertise that. But I don't feel like they've done a good job of advertising that.
That's why you will never own a league. You don't get it.
It's all about not telling people.
Because then it's such a pleasant surprise when they check Twitch on their lunch breaks or between meetings and they go, oh, what the hecky?
Oh, what the hecky?
Yeah, I think that's what
is that what they sound like? Oh, what the hecky?
Yeah, they go. The tech bros check their phone and go, "Oh, what the hecky? League's on? Ooh woo." Sorry, boss, I can't come to my next meeting.
Yeah.
Please don't get mad at me. Ooh woo. I need to go.
Oh, this episode's already off the rails, and we're like 3 minutes in.
Dude, I'm sorry. It's not only a Super Week where I have a fast turnaround time, but I also I'm going to Disneyland tomorrow for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, for Tuesday.
So it's just like, yeah. So I just have like this week is gonna burn me out. Like Disneyland does not recharge me. That's like I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but it's by Friday night I'm gonna be dead.
I normally I went to Disneyland last year, and by like 5 o'clock I was like, okay, do we need to keep walking around and doing stuff? What if we just sat here and I drank an alcoholic beverage?
I mean, that's what we're gonna do is probably drink a lot, and that'll be a lot of fun because they always the Disneyland or the California Adventure has all like the little like pop-up stands.
Yeah.
Whatever they're called.
I just want to say I've now seen episode 4, but I've not seen episode 5 of The Last of Us.
What the fuck are you doing?
You just
said you didn't watch the Super Bowl.
It is not my fault. I am watching with somebody, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I can't watch episode 5."
Oh, episode 5 was very good. I liked it more than episode 4.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it after I watch it. But what else did you watch? Anything interesting? Nothing?
No, I don't think so. I just saw that there's a Bill Russell Netflix documentary. I'm going to make Ashley watch that shit.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know who Bill Russell is?
No.
That's okay. I won't jet you.
Oh God. Sports stuff?
Yeah.
I think the LCS should ban sports analogies. I think after 11 years, you no longer need to be like, It's just like when Jimmy John was catching that interception in Super Bowl of 1974.
Jimmy John, and then he made the subs afterwards.
Yeah. Dude, Jimmy John, it's a very popular name, okay?
Dude, he was very successful. He was both a Super Bowl winning whatever he was and a sub entrepreneur.
I'm just like, you know what is not going to get us a new, younger, and more diverse audience? 30-year-old sports analogies.
Yeah, I mean, I still like sports. I still like will mention traditional sports, but I'll usually like mention it more in juxtaposition rather than like referential stuff. You know, like
Yeah, we'll talk about it on the show.
oh
We'll be like, oh, this format is done, or like traditional sports doesn't do this or does this. But I
yeah,
won't be
or like traditional media for sports is like that. Or,
right.
Physical 100. Yes, I did watch that. That was so long ago I forgot because it comes out on Tuesdays, which is like right after the show. These next two episodes were fucking amazing again. The production team, whoever is like the director, producer of this, just fucking, they get it. They know how to make good stories. Oh my God, the underdog story was amazing. The like downtime while they're waiting for the other thing to go on. The like second elimination match, you know, the boat towing, like all that stuff is just so cool. They fucking get it. It's awesome.
Cool.
I mean, that's just Korean Seaman Demon. That's just how Korean TV shows are. Like Japanese and Korean variety shows, and just it's their way they edit. They show things 4 times from every angle. I get that might be annoying, but that's a cultural thing. If you watch a lot of
Mark just talking to the chat, even though everybody else.
Sorry. They said they didn't like how they show the same thing 4 times, but that's just kind of how they do it.
Yeah. Well, that's still a reason to not like something.
Yeah, I mean, I said it's fair. I'm just saying that it's less a specific thing about this show and more just like how they edit for their audience.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a new setup that's scuffed, but I'm going to deploy it after the show. You see this shit, Mark? This is my new. I can now open cards on stream.
You're a real Magic content creator.
No, I tried to set up like a very fancy camera setup, and instead now I just have like this janked, awkward angle.
Yeah, man, but you're trying.
I've
seen that setup.
Or Jordan says my man is addicted to MTG. I don't think I'm addicted. I'm not doing anything unhealthy. I'm just playing a lot of it lately.
Wait. You're redefining your entire personality and schedule around a card game. I think that's an addiction.
How am I doing that? It's not like I've asked to move Hotline League. I just go on Fridays.
You change everything you do. You go all the time. You have new friend groups. You spend all this money. You're redoing your camera setup. Look at your background. Look at that. It's a real background behind you now. For years, your office didn't look this good. Now it looks this good. Why is that? Magic addiction.
It's literally because I had to move the camera to the other monitor so that I could open the cards over here. It's not because of Magic addiction. It's just because of the way.
That's literally what you just said. You just said I needed to change my entire.
But that's not because of Magic. It's not like I'm like, oh, I'm going to become a mega Magic the Gathering Twitch streamer. It's literally I just picked up a fucking webcam and moved it from one monitor to the other.
Dude, every weekend you're like, I'm like, do you want to do something? That's a lie. But every weekend
that's not true at all. You never want to do anything on the weekends.
Okay, I admit I lie. But every time that I message you, and it's not in the morning, you're like, sorry, I have a Magic thing going on.
No, that's not true at all. Because you can't ever do anything after 3:30.
Yeah, well, but I mean, like, I'll be texting you just about other things. You'll be like, sorry, I was at Magic, I couldn't respond.
Because I think you messaged me on Friday nights after Hotline.
We should do a Twitch. I'm going to do a Twitch poll right now.
Why?
Poll.
These people don't know me.
Is Travis addicted? I mean, they're just using the evidence presented.
No, here's the thing. I spent fucking 2.5 years in this goddamn apartment, and now I can actually go out and interact with people. And, in 2023, there's no events. There's no, like, community things that you can go to. Like, what, I'm going to go to the fucking farmer's market and, like, make friends with Bob and Cindy and their new 2-year-old. Like, this is like a cool, it's a cool way to go out and do stuff. And so I go play Magic, and it's been fun. Yeah.
100 Thieves went to the farmer's market. Dude, you're playing Magic in the middle of the show.
No,
You're
not.
actively playing Magic right now. I can see it as reflected in your eyes. You have MTG Arena up. I can see you
do
have
not have
MTG
MTG Arena
up, dude.
People are gonna believe that. I don't actually have MTG Arena.
Podcast listeners, he has it up.
I do not. I'm holding Magic cards in my hand though, because I had them on my deck or my desk. Okay, let's talk about something else, like League of Legends.
Like what?
Esports.
Oh, really? Do you still even care about that? I thought all he cared about was Magic.
Who? What? Dude, I'm one of the few people who care about it. You should make those jokes, okay? Don't scare me off.
I care about it, dude. I was slamming.
You and I care about it. That's it. Okay.
I think a couple other people care.
I mean, based off of week-to-week viewership, it's a diminishing number, Mark.
Wait, so I know we were talking about this ourselves. You said like, oh, week 3 looks like shit. But
Thursday viewership looked like shit when I was just doing the sort of casual glances at Twitch. Like it was sitting at like 65K for most of that day. It felt like
it looked bad to me too. I thought I saw that too, but then when I checked the average viewers, it hasn't changed that much.
Really?
It has
maybe more people moving to co-streams or something. I don't know.
This week. Yeah, it must be co-streams doing more than I realized or something. Because yeah, I agree. Like you said that, and I looked at it, and I was like, oh yeah, bummer. And then I looked at the average viewers this week for esports charts, and it hasn't gone down that much. So I don't know.
Well, do you think we can bait LS to calling in again? Because I posted his video. I posted the clip of him on Hotline League last week, and it's now the #1 out of the last 10 videos on my channel, with a 12.4% click-through rate.
On YouTube? As a short or as a
no, just as a regular video. You could go look. It's just crushing it because LS is in it, and it says LS defends LCS. What if instead of covering the LCS, we just cover LS? It's one less letter in the middle.
In terms of YouTube KPIs too, it's much better.
Yeah.
Like the other thing you did is you hid the fact it was a Hotline League clip with the thumbnail.
Yeah.
LS defends LCS. All right, let's just check out LS Clips channel and just start pulling them up and reacting.
Yeah. What do we got? What are
LS
we talking
Clips. About? LS highlights and clips. Most recent video from 3 days ago. The new Aurelion Soul rework is completely broken.
All right, guys. Tonight we're going to be talking about whether or not the new Aurelion Soul rework is completely broken, and if LS is wrong or right about it. Start typing in your takes now in the calls, and we'll figure it out.
This one has a funny title. LS hyphen Zeri Lulu Lucian Nami. Zeri Lulu Lucian Nami. Zeri Lulu. Did
that video perform well? That's a strange title. All right. Anyway, what happened this past week that we could talk about in League of Legends? Nobody watched or I shouldn't say nobody. I did an interview with Prince and Peter. It is like the most wholesome interview that I have done forever. And boy, did that video underperform. And it just
got 35K views.
Yeah, but like go look at the previous Peter one. Like, or even the previous Prince. Like I thought for sure that one was going to crush it. And it's just chilling. This is actually a show where we just talk about how my YouTube channel is doing now, folks.
We just talk about YouTube. We don't talk about League of Legends.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people are frustrated with this episode already.
Yes. Okay, we'll get into it. But, okay, jokes aside about the viewership on that video, that was so cute. I did not anticipate. I knew that he was like a fan of Peter's, but that man was like broken. Did you watch the video yet, Mark? I won't judge you.
Yeah.
I got into it, and I was like, oh, this will be funny, because like Prince, like for those that have not seen him in other content, he's very cocky. He's very animated. He likes to trash talk, etc., etc. He's been a great addition to the league already 3 weeks in, and he just like shut down and couldn't speak next to Peter in that interview, and it was actually remarkable. I don't know if I've seen anything like that between two pro players, and I don't know. It's just like a really cool story.
Usually when people say like, oh, I'm a fan of this guy inspired me to play, by the time they meet, it's like some level of the like fan experience has worn off. But this was like Prince could have been a random meeting Peter, you know? This could be like a 14-year-old kid who grew up watching Peter and met him, you know, not like one of the best 80 carries in the world meeting Peter, which is why it's really cute.
Yeah. Everybody says I uploaded it too late. Well, one, if I uploaded it within 24 hours, it wouldn't have gone anywhere on Reddit because they just slam it with a spoiler thing. And two, uh, I thought for sure that an interview that expanded on like the little Twitter clip would have been something that people like they talk about stuff and who won lane and all that stuff. You know, it's very different. It's very different. Also, the click through rate was great. It was just a matter of for some reason YouTube didn't show it to that many people.
Travis,
Yes.
I just realized
What?
you do not have my webcam cropped properly. This show is coming apart at the seams.
Can you elaborate?
Like I'm just like the far right side and the top of my webcam is fucking troll. If you played less Magic and paid more attention to your production, you might have caught that.
I don't know how that happened.
I'm
I'm also surprised nobody in chat noticed it. All right.
That's because they're not detail minded like me. We had a good weekend.
Yes.
You showed me some data. I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to say it to gas ourselves
No.
out.
No.
No? No.
Don't.
No. I get my own data too, by the way.
Yeah. Well, you could use your data. Don't use my data.
All right. Well, I'll wait till I get my data a little bit better. We'll talk about it next week then.
But there was a lot of interesting stuff that went down. The FlyQuest 100 Thieves match, I think, was super fun. Even setting aside the stuff that happened afterwards, I think Prince and Double F meeting up was really neat. I do think this is the weekend where people, like the community, like all the Double F haters seem to get silenced after this weekend. Not to say that like he beat Prince or anything like that, but I think there were a lot of people that thought that were just like excited for him. They're like, oh, he's gonna go 0-6 at Worlds. This guy sucks. Blah blah blah. He's so washed. Like whatever. And like honestly, he seems like a top 3 AD in the league right now. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think it's him, Prince, Berserker, FBI, kind of fighting for the top 4. And I think FBI might have been like a little less individually dominant. I think he plays a very good role for that team, but maybe I don't know. It's close.
So that was fun. What other big matches did we have? We had the C9 match, right?
Yeah, C9 played EG. They lost. A bunch of the top teams played each other. 100 Thieves beat TL. I guess to your point about them like kind of proving themselves. EG lost to FlyQuest.
We had
a lot of those.
We had that caller last week that was like, "Oh yeah, FlyQuest is actually overrated." I think they are now solidly rated. They are 6-0. Everybody else is at least 2 games behind them, and they've beat. Is there any top team that they have not played yet? This weekend they play. This coming weekend they play, or this coming week they play Immortals, TSM, and CLG, and that will
world
finish
beaters
out.
Coming for them.
That'll finish out their whole thing. Also,
what's week 5 for them?
CLG now 2-4. My skepticism 2 hotline leagues ago proven to be fair.
They also play this week all top half of the league teams, depending on your definition of Team Liquid. They play Team Liquid, 100 Thieves, and FlyQuest. So a very possible 2 and I can't do math.
7? Yes.
Yeah, 2 and 7 round out the first round robin.
Yeah.
Looking tough.
CLG
Looking real tough. On the flip side, Golden Guardians in rally position, TSM, Dig, and then 100 Thieves to close it out. They could finish 4 and 5.
Yeah. That would be interesting. Yeah, this Super Week is a cool... Again, I wish that they had done more to promote the fact that Super Week was happening because... And not only that Super Week was happening, but that it was the end of the first round robin. You know what? I'm going to say this. The LCS... A lot of people talking about the LCS format in comparison to LEC. I think that the LCS format suffers even more whenever they don't lean into the format. Like, there should be a lot of talk of, like, all the teams will be playing each other by the end of this week. Like, who's going to finish, top at the end of or who's going to be able to recover? What's everything look like after the first round robin? And I don't see any hype around that. So
Dana asks, is there another parking lot after party this week too? Yes, I don't know what day.
On Friday.
Friday.
I am 95% certain it's Friday.
That sounds right, but I could be
it's
wrong.
like a Lunar New Year after party, even though Lunar New Year I think is over. I'm an ignorant person, so please feel free to correct me. But they're doing like something. I feel like that's a little late, which not to say they shouldn't do it. I'm just somewhat surprised by the delay. So yes, another after party this week.
Poggers, Woggers. Yeah, Arch says it's Friday after the last game.
Yeah, yeah, and the theme is Lunar New Year, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's public yet, so I'm a little afraid to say anything here.
No, they've said it public. I only know about it because of the fact that I did not hear about it privately. So,
well, Papa Smithy said Lunar New Year Friday, so there you go.
Yeah, but I think that
I heard there's going to be some sick Primo Gem opportunities.
Primo Gems.
Yeah, you can get some Primos.
Yeah, wrong game, Mark. We stopped covering that game.
We had a fun segment with Berserker versus Sven 1v1. I think a lot of the between show content between game content has been really fun. I'm looking forward to more of that. I interviewed JoJo. He went to the bathroom before the interview. Normally, a pro player wins the game and you grab them right away. And he took his peripherals and left the stage. And I was standing up there in front of fans for like 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, I guess we'll interview JoJo after the break.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting to see you guys all rotate into the interview position.
I like interviewing pros, to be honest.
Maybe you should step off. All right. That's kind of.
Oh, you know what? We have a lot of guests. Travis, we do a lot of guest stuff now. How would you feel about coming on to be the LCS interviewer, or do you want to co-cast a game? Do you want to be a special guest?
I do not think I should co-cast a game. I would be down to be a guest on the broadcast one day. I think that would be fun and weird.
I think it'd be so fun to have you co-cast a game where you just get up there.
You just want to see me get exposed.
No, not exposed. It's just like, tell them the stories that matter. Like, Jojo Pune will get a solo kill, and you'll be like, "Did you know Jojo Pune one time ghosted me when I?" And that's just all your analysis.
Hey, all my analysis is just. By the way, this guy actually cares about his Twitter following and has been trying to grow it.
I interviewed this guy 2 weeks ago, actually, and he said,
"Yeah, that would be interesting. It would be bizarre. I like you and I have joked about me doing stuff with the broadcast before. This is the first time you've ever mentioned the idea of being a guest caster, and I don't know if I'd be comfortable with that. That feels like it would be so strange.
How do you feel about hosting the analyst desk for a day?
Well, there's no host now for the analyst desk, so.
Yeah, but it'd be funny to make you the host for a day. Maximum chaos.
Off. Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Ooh, Travis, me, and Kobe TriCast would be a lot of fun, actually.
That would actually be fun. For a game that doesn't matter or something like that.
Yeah, like week 7, week 8, one of these teams is already out.
That would actually be very fun.
It'd be like you and Kobe arguing about coasters and like who's not putting their cups on them. And
yeah. We got into it today because I saw him wearing shoes in the house. But I came home and he had just been. We should get into the show. Do we have takes and stuff? What else? Is there anything else we need to talk about?
I haven't done anything. I have not done any work yet. Let me start pulling callers.
So, one. LEC continuing to do Champs Q stuff, right? It seems like it's alive.
Yeah, I didn't really follow. I retweeted Empire one time just to like stir the pot for fun. I didn't really look into it though. I just saw he said something and I retweeted it to. I don't know.
I think it's still chaos. A thing. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like the games were great this weekend, but for once there's no strange drama or anything unusual to really dig into. So I think it's a bit of an open lines night. So, but we actually have a ton of people in pub calls and sub calls and everything. So hopefully we get some great takes from everybody on this week's episode.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pull some.
John Q in the chat says, Travis on air. Did you know JoJo Pyun cannot name a single League of Legends skin? Then he bailed on the geography quiz because he doesn't know any geography. Exactly. I'm just going to come in and
feel like it'd be such a good cast, man.
Yeah, that would be fun. there'd be a Reddit thread afterwards. It's like, do they even care anymore?
Of course.
Pros don't know what Australia is exactly. Well, Sven, looking better in lane right now than he did in the geography quiz.
Not a good look.
All right, Mark's pulled a couple people. Do you want to go grab them?
Yeah, I'll get one. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll get one.
Off Mark goes. Thank you to God Mode, Fartmaster Blaster, Ari Waddle, Dusk Dodgers, Laminar 2100, DJ NA, Badger Yars, Zemelkai, Donut, Immortal Scrub, Vanilla SB. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. What else? Is Mark back yet?
Yeah, I'm here.
He is.
Here.
Okay. So, hello, Brandywine. Where are you calling from?
Calling from Southern Oregon.
Southern Oregon. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I'm talking about how FlyQuest is going to be the first North American team to win an international event, and it is going to happen this year.
Which international event are they winning?
They're going to. It doesn't really matter. My take is it's going to be one of
I
them.
think it matters.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think if they win either of them, it's going to be a big feat. So,
just say Worlds because why not at this point? You're already this far into the take. Just say that FlyQuest is winning Worlds.
yeah, FlyQuest is winning Worlds.
Pog.
Who was it? Was it you? Somebody told me that Vedius had retweeted, or one of the LEC casters had retweeted a take about how, or like had quote tweeted something from Reddit about how they thought that FlyQuest was like the best team in the league or in the West right now, and they're like, oh, we're gonna see, saving this for later or whatever.
I vaguely remember something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything to you about it, but I remember seeing Vedius say that, and I think it's Treats and LS did a like combined list of something between LEC and LCS, and FlyQuest was on top of it.
Ooh.
I can't remember if it was an 80 carry list and it was Prince number 1, or if it was I think it was an 80 carry list and Prince was number 1. But Prince himself listed where he thought they were at, and he was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, he said, like, on a global scale, he said FlyQuest right now is like a 5.5 in his mind, and like the LPL teams are between a 5.5 and a 7.5, or something, and like Korea, I forget the number. So he's saying like he thinks they're on the low end of the Eastern League teams. So a little bit of a cold water on your take, Brandywine, if the guy that you're trying to gas up himself is a little pessimistic of their odds.
Well, why don't you expand, Brandywine? Go ahead.
First off, we're still a few months away. Second, they don't even have their full team right now. Like, they're playing with Winsome, who's doing great, but I have seen him called out by a few players on other teams for being kind of, the weak part of at least the lane. And also just like the very fact that Prince is in the conversation for being best in position in the world, or like, in that top 10, like we don't see that. We haven't seen that yet. And so I think that like, yeah, I think they have the best chance of winning Worlds of any team that we've ever sent, for sure. And of course, have to make the take good. So
we have to send them first. Mark, is this time?
I mean, don't get me.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, don't get me wrong. I think FlyQuest is incredible, and everyone keeps being like, "Are they gonna go 18-0?" And I'll be like, "Yes," every single time, and I'll say they're gonna win the split. Anytime people try and put one of those like, "What's a hot take I can say about FlyQuest?" I'm always like, "Yes," but that's domestically. I don't know about internationally. I can say these things. Also, we have had 17-1 teams before, and Immortals, the TSM. We've had 16-2 teams before, and they don't always do well internationally. So I don't know if regional dominance in North America necessarily translates to the big stage. I do think that they, top to bottom, look like one of the most competent teams we have sent in a long time, assuming that they go. I like them a lot. It's not like they're perfect. Vikla has had some oopsies. Impact has had some oopsies. Prince is immaculate. So I think there's still areas for them to improve on. I don't think they're capped out, to your point. But yeah, I don't know.
Do we have any Winsome takes?
There are some, but do you want to
detour here?
Let's just detour here. I mean, there are some, but
Yeah, I think if we're talking about FlyQuest, let's do it here. Quick detour to talk about the Winsome Ayla thing. Brandywine, do you think that they should keep Winsome, or do you think? Because here's the thing: they're currently undefeated with this guy. Like you have to worry a little bit. I feel like about getting your mojo messed up if you change him out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, right now it looks like kind of regardless, it's a really good chance that they're going to win at least the regular season in the split. And even if it costs a couple games now, I think that bringing in this guy who has been hyped up and has been the best in his position in academy, and who I think has a lot of potential to be really good with the team, I think that's a good thing to do, even if it will cost a game or two. You know, it might cost 18-0, but in the long run will be great. Which is nothing against Winsome. I just think that, you know, historically Ayla has shown more where he's been.
Brandywine, I keep turning you up and then turning you down because you'll go low and then quiet again. So I don't know if you're moving away from your microphone, but if you can stay close. Mark, go ahead.
I was gonna say I kind of agree with Brandywine. I think for me, at the end of the day, it's going to be what the players want to do that I would defer to. So if like a bunch of the guys are like, actually, I really enjoy playing with Winsome, and I think I would prefer to keep playing with him. I think preserving the harmony of the team is the most important thing. As much as that would suck for Ayla, you know, like I get it. I do think Ayla is really good, and I'd be happy to see him on this team. I normally hate the 6-man roster idea. I think it's a joke. I think it's usually like you don't know what you want to choose between two bad options and you just kind of like put it off. This is not that situation. I think it's like a player who has legitimately earned their potential starting spot during the time that they've subbed in. To like, it's just like when Drew Bledsoe got injured with the Patriots, Travis, and then Tom Brady stepped in, and became the greatest quarterback of all time. That's basically what the opportunity is here for Winsome.
Our viewership is dying right now.
Oh my god, we just lost 400 viewers. But yeah, I think it is a situation where like, it's more of a feels good moment for a guy who has overperformed expectations I think a lot of us had for him. So
okay.
I would maybe do a position battle, like it to the caller's point, that is objectively worse in the short term. Than maybe in the long term too. Like you should just pick who you think is the best option. But maybe people don't always know what the best option is. Maybe there's just a little something that Winsome brings that makes him the right fit for the team.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I'm just very curious to see what happens because it's going to be very spicy if or when that decision has to get made. All right, so back to, is FlyQuest going to do really well internationally? Hot take, I don't think that the league is as good as everyone thought it was going to be right now. Which is not to say that like I'm an LCS doubter, LCS hater, or something like that. But going into this year, everybody's like, "Oh man, there's gonna be so much parity and all that stuff." And I know Ellis said like there's a decent amount of good teams, but like I don't know. I kind of feel like.
Oh my God, Travis is burnt out already.
No. I don't think 100 Thieves should be doing as good as they are. And like the fact that they're almost like my barometer. That makes me feel as though the rest of the teams are not as good as they should be. Does that make sense?
Which team did you say? Sorry,
I said I don't think 100 Thieves should be doing as good as they are.
Okay, I somewhat disagree with that. As someone who believed in 100 Thieves,
you had them higher on the power rankings than most, I think.
Yeah, and I get why people doubted them because it's like, oh, Bjerg and Doublelift have to work off the rust and blah blah blah. But okay, like Bjergsen was actually still fine last year. People are just haters. Closer's been one of the best junglers in the league for a while. He made 3 straight finals. Busio is quite hyped up. Tenacity is quite good. And Doublelift was the only real question mark, but he's historically very good. And like, I think he was very hungry based off his reasoning for coming back and stuff. And he wasn't going to like, the problem that Peter has, it seems like, is like too much prolonged success for him can lead to him getting bored and like kind of stepping back. And I don't think that he's in that phase right now. So like the reasons to doubt 100 Thieves, I was like, maybe the rookies flop and Doublelift is just bad now, but like I don't think that's going to happen. I watched his Champions League games. He looks pretty good, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
okay, but I think you are underselling the questions around 100 Thieves going into this year. Which honestly, like, again, people are going to interpret me saying this as, oh, this is Travis being a 100T hater. It's almost like I hate it when people use some, not to say that this is what you're doing, but people will sometimes use like revisionist history to try to like undercut how impressive it is that a team is doing well. Like, team suddenly pops off or is doing really well, and everybody goes like, "Oh, well, we should have always known," or "People always knew," or whatever. Like, Tenacity and Busio, I think, were pretty big question marks. Not to say that they weren't good, but like, how many times have we seen somebody who's like hyped up in Academy make it into LCS and then not look good? Bjergsen was not near, like, everyone wanted to pretend like Bjergsen was like one of the worst mid laners in the league last year. I agree that he wasn't, but by no means was he like the standout best. And then like the Peter stuff is, I mean, everybody, even the other pro players were saying that guy looks really bad. Like, I don't know if you saw the Vulcan Vulcan Berserker interview, but they were both talking about how they thought that his success was very surprising given what they had seen from him on stream and everything before. So I don't know. I plus
okay, so
real, or is that just shit talking the shit talker type?
No, I
you know
think
what I
that
mean?
they're
Like,
being real about it because they're saying it now. You know, it's not like, I don't know. Sorry, whatever. Mark,
I'll just say this: like, I think very promising rookies who debut on good teams usually actually do good more often than terrible. There's a lot of players who step in and do well. You know, tacticals of the world and stuff like that. I know people meme him now, but like when he stepped in for Peter back then, he was pretty good and stuff. I think if you have a competent team around you, it's a lot easier versus like Ken V stepping in for Immortals. And I think environment factors into that so much.
But that's
And
usually
Hunt Hughes is
one
good
player on a team that's usually already finding success. This was two players on a team that hadn't really existed before.
Jojo Danny.
Danny had already been there before.
And fucking Tenacity's been at 100 Thieves for like 6 years. He didn't play. He played like one LCS game as like the sixth man, but he's been there. Like,
I know.
But
it's not to say
LeTigress,
that
Blabber, fucking Niski. I don't know, dude. People add like put players in, and if they're on a competent team, they look good. It's fine. Biofrost. I can keep rattling off rookies who joined good teams and looked good. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard to find players who did the opposite. But I'm not gonna fight this battle with you right now.
I think it's much harder to find a player that was put on a good team and they're the one guy other than Mike Young, who's like the obvious example. I don't know who else would jump off the page, but Spica is another good example. Fudge, another good example. There's just countless players who you put them in on top teams. So anyways, bigger point being, I agree that the LCS is maybe not as competitive as we were sold on due to Dignitas being a boner flop and Team Liquid getting overhyped scrim results. I think we have a legitimate four-way fight for best team in the league, or like maybe second place now between 100 Thieves, C9, and EG, with FlyQuest being the clear number one. I think Team Liquid and Dignitas have temporarily, or Dignitas clearly, but Team Liquid has kind of dropped out of that serious conversation. Maybe they can claw back up. But how they were hyped in scrims has not delivered at all on stage, and there's enough problems showing that like I don't think that stage version or that scrim version is coming anytime soon.
All right. So do you think that the league is better? I know you disagree with my 100T take. Do you disagree with the idea that the league is weaker than people expected?
No, I'm agreeing with that take. I think it's a little weaker than we were sold on at the start.
Okay.
Just because like we were sold on 6 teams and we got 4.
And so that's part of the reason why I am really a big fan of this FlyQuest team. I think they're really fun. I think that they've done some great content. I love the Prince's personality. I think it's just really neat. They're refreshing for the league. I am very skeptical that they're like going to crush it internationally this year, or rather that I could see them outperforming North America standard, but I don't think that they're going to win. Wow, my hot take is I don't think they're going to win an international event.
Jesus, Travis, cool it down there, buddy. Pump the brakes.
Sorry, Brandywine. Either way, thank you so much, Brandywine.
Smithy raging out in chat.
Anything you want to say before we say goodbye, Brandywine?
Oh, just want to shout out all the work that y'all do. It's great. And shout out to FlyQuest. Big fan. Have been a fan for a while, so it's nice to see him at the top. And shout out to my folks doing fantasy because they let me have 4 out of 5 of the FlyQuest players. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
I'll too.
All right. Off mark goes to get the next caller.
Before I get the next caller,
Oh.
there was someone who joined the Pleb Topics channel. His name was Tober Gukula. I don't know. They added me. They said, hot take, anime sucks. And then they left. And I haven't been able to get them back. I figured you would appreciate debating that. But unfortunately, when we needed him most, he disappeared.
What a loss. Okay, there goes Mark. Thank you to Liberi, Craig Yorger for 3 years. Thanks, Craig. PepperX PhD, Slope Soaring, Kid Kane, Late Night Arc, Tay Swizzle, and Funky Man for the subs. Thanks, everybody. A bunch of you guys subbed at the start of the show. We got a sub train going. It was very nice. Yeah. By the way, I had 2 smaller companies reach out to me last week after we talked about not having sponsors. That was very nice for those of you that did reach out. Not sure if we're going to be able to make anything happen or not, but yeah, looking for sponsors actively for the show and for other stuff. I don't know at this point in time. I don't know if I'll have a sponsor for MSI. Okay, Taco is here. Taco, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Japan.
From where?
From Japan.
Japan. Oh, sick. Oh, you've been on the show before, right?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, welcome back. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So my topic is that 100T has what it takes to win it all, but Tenacity is actually holding them back.
Tenacity is holding back 100T. Mark was just telling me that like he's great and everything's amazing and 100T is the best. Blah, blah, blah. Why do you think that Tenacity is holding them back?
So this isn't so much a Tenacity is a bad player take because he actually did really well in the FlyQuest game. Like he solo killed Impact and he did a lot in that game, but in the crucial moments he was not there. So I have actually 3 fights within the game that I was thinking about where so actually the first one, 17 minutes, he's top, everyone's TPing mid and he's just kind of wandering around in the river and then he TPs 9 seconds later. And then by that time, the fight was lost. He did some damage after that, but if he would have been there at the beginning of the fight, it would have gone a lot better. And then the second fight was a few minutes after that at Dragon. He's pushing out bot when his team is contesting Dragon. Again, he was doing well at that point already, so missing in a key team fight again, and then his whole team got wiped. And then the last one, it was around 20 minutes, or it was the final fight of the game where it's not necessarily his fault because Closer got caught, but again, he was missing throughout the whole fight. He had TP up again, and he just came after everyone was dead. So if he would have been able to coordinate better with the team, I think 100T could have won that game. And so just evidently, his coordination is lacking, and therefore 100T can't win unless he gets on board.
Did you watch Double If's VOD review?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, I guess he talked a little bit about this on there.
I don't believe it. This sounds like a Double If review take.
You know, I tried looking up as much content as I could in prep for this call, and actually I didn't watch it. So, what was said?
I don't believe it. He said a lot of similar things, just about like the late TPs or like the awkward pathing angles, like the jacks running up the mid play. Even though he could have just initially ran at them from behind anyway, since he was already in flank position. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he played exceptionally well, but I also think his fucking Botlane got booty clapped that game, right? Am I thinking of the right game? Yeah, that was the FlyQuest game, right?
So I'm not sure. All I could focus on was Tenacity was not there in that game.
I need to go look up the drafts, make sure I'm thinking of the right game.
Twitch chat says yes.
Yeah, it was the FlyQuest game. Yeah. I mean, like their Botlane got 2v2 killed in that matchup shouldn't really be happening. It can happen if things go bad. They went bad. So I don't know. It's kind of like cursed. And then also closer was just perma invaded and marked like the entire early game. It felt like, except for the kills on Tenacity, which came after they already kind of got the solo kill because Impact messed up. So like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, he made the biggest mistakes in team fights, but he was also one of the biggest sources of pressure for the team when everything else was kind of going not great. So
have you seen this type of? Have you seen these issues in other games as well, Taco?
See, I tried going back and looking at some of the games, and I wasn't really able to pick apart that much. But this game specifically, like these 3 big moments, stuck out to me a lot. Like they had Baron that last fight. Had he been there for the 5v5, I'm pretty sure they would have been able to do. I don't know if they win necessarily, but the team fight was completely lost at that point when Closer got caught. So, like Closer gets caught, yeah, but you're there. The Fiora, I can't even remember his score line, but he had a ton of damage that game. So had he been there, been an additional carry, it would have gone a lot different. They had Baron pushing as well, so I just think, I mean, okay, I don't want to say Tenacity is the problem, but he was
you said
a
Tenacity is the
big
problem.
that game.
Tenacity's
That was
the
your
problem.
take.
It's okay.
Okay, wait,
That's
yeah.
okay.
Tenacity is the problem. He needs to do better. That's it.
So I think he's been inconsistent to answer that Travis question about like, is this the only game you have problem or others? Like there's some lanes that I don't think he played exceptionally well. I think there's been a couple of these team fight situations where things haven't been great. Like again, the Jax one early on, just going in and dying when he was kind of their pressure point around that Rift Herald and stuff. I think that was the TL game. He did that. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't always great. Wait, no, the Jax game was the TL game. That was the one where you had the bad TP, and then the Fiora game was the other thing. Yeah, I remember now. Okay. Anyways, point is, yeah, he's a rookie. He makes some rookie mistakes. That's okay. You know, I watch Harry and Yon. They make rookie mistakes too. Yon dies rotating to a Rift Herald. Harry doesn't flash a Bjergsen flip. You know, like all the young guys in the league are making mistakes like this. I don't think that means that they're doomed. They can't win. I think it's fair to say that Tenacity needs to step up a little bit. I think that's fair for Busio as well.
Is it fair for Busio? Do you because I was going to ask you, Mark? Do you think that Tenacity is the weakest or the worst performing player on the team so far?
I feel like you could probably make that case, but I don't think the delta between him and like 4th is so significant that he deserves to get singled out in any notable way.
And 4th is Busio?
Such as a call, like, no, I don't think Busio. My point is, like, I don't think that anyone really deserves it on this team. I don't think that they are like, oh, there's just this one idiot running it, and if they just got a different top laner, then they're 5-1 or 6-0. I don't feel that way at all. I think you can make the case that the rookies have been the biggest problems overall in their games, but like again, I think that's fair and like to be expected. I don't think that that's like, oh no, what are we gonna do? The 2 young guys who never played in the LCS before are the 2 who are like struggling a little bit, and they're not even struggling massively. They're 4-2. They're playing a lot of situations quite well as well. So I don't like. I can agree with this take in the most like unfair interpretation of it, but I don't agree that he's like a problem that's holding this team back substantially.
There you go.
It's not.
I think
it's not like a doomer take saying 100T can't win it. Oh, like I literally say they can, just Tenacity, and I understand he's a rookie, so he just needs to grow into the role, and then if he can, then I think 100T can win it.
But if he can't, then 100T can't win.
I mean,
this is a threat you're making.
Game, yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we take a quick break?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out the Talia main subreddit. We actually exist, so that's it. Or actually, Rift, not Rift Reaction, the Genshin Impact one. I can't remember what it's called.
Neither can I. It was so long ago that we did that show.
Tenacity has the most solo kills of any of the top laners in the LCS right now with 8. Second closest is 5 with Summit. However, Summit has 12 ISO deaths. Tenacity has 4. Therefore, Tenacity is actually the best top laner in the LCS.
Taco, thanks so much for the call.
He can't win the game.
We'll catch you down.
Thanks.
We'll catch you next time.
His team's too fucking heavy, dude. How about they stop dying and needing him to carry their ass, huh? It's an unfair burden that we're thrusting upon this young lad. That his boomer ass mid and bot lane need him to come in and 1v9 team fights because he actually won his lane. It's unfair.
Tonight's episode of Hotline League is brought to you by Alienware. Alienware, our longtime partner. We really appreciate Alienware and so much of what they have done for Travis Gafford Industries. Sponsored Hotline League all the way since the end of 2018, and they've been a delightful partner for us. Really appreciate everything that they've done while working with us. They make great products. Please check them out over at alienware.com/Travis. If you purchase through that link, and sometimes ad blocker and stuff like that breaks it, but if you do and you're living in North America or the US, a portion of your purchase will make it back to TGI. So thank you so much to Alienware for sponsoring the show. It's really great to have them. And thank you to all of you guys who still continue to shout them out and stuff on the show. We've done things in the past where we've shown them like montages, etc., of all the callers that are shouting them out, and it's been really, really cool. And that stuff is even valuable whenever we're talking to other partners as well. So just thank you guys for your support of Alienware, and thank you to Alienware for their support of all of our content. So thank you so much to our sponsor. Mark is off to grab the next caller. Thank you to MyPS. How you doing, MyPS? Where are you at these days? Google? I basically, I do this show just to track your career. Funky Man, Bill Gunn, Boopy Bay, and Beam Boom. Thank you. What an interesting selection of subnames to read out all at once. Saint is here. Saint, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Spokane, Washington.
Spokane, Washington. And you've been on the show before because I have you turned up to 200%.
Yeah, I guess.
What do you want? What do you want to talk about on the show?
I want to talk about how Dignitas's LCS team is so bad. They should just give up. They should sub in all of their challengers roster, who's very good. They're 16-2 right now. So
Their challengers roster is 16-2.
yeah,
Do you happen to know the list? Like who? What is that roster? I actually don't know.
it's Hoon, XU, Insanity, Tomo, and Diamond.
Gotcha. Well, I'd love to see
Yeah.
Diamond back in the LCS.
It's pretty good.
Okay, so they're 16-2. Does that mean they're at the top of the league, or is anybody up there with them?
Yeah, they're number one by like 2 games.
Gotcha.
They're number one. There's a couple teams that are close to like 11-3, 11-5. It looks like looking at this.
Wildcard is
Wildcard Gaming.
14-4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wildcard would be my go-to pick if you could like just somehow. We were talking about this. We have our meetings on Monday, and there were a couple of the academy guys in the building, and Jat and myself and other people were just like all hanging out in the green room, and we were like, no joke, if we could just like remove Dignitas and put in Wildcard Gaming, we would do it just because their drafts are so fun. They're drafting like Pantheon, Nunu, Zach, like these like weird meatball comps, Moose haters fucking running Garen down the top lane. They're also insanely toxic people. A lot of these guys like they're very skilled and they would probably have a team, but a lot of them have a bad rap. Not all of them. Like Saligo is someone who seems pretty chill. They're coached by Griffin, ex Wiggly, so it's not like they're terrible people or anything, but I just mean like they're people who haven't gotten a shot by LCS orgs because of this kind of like perception of them.
Yeah.
But skill wise, they are beating a bunch of these teams that have way more resources than them. And Duo King is like fucking tweeting out pictures of him playing 60 hours of Steam this week and like saying like just beat EG, while like not even fucking scrimming or like whatever they're doing. They're just like, they're showmen. They're not trying. They're beating people and they're showmen. It's awesome. And like they have cool drafts. And like I was talking with Jad, I was like, if I was going to redo promo relegation somehow, I would actually do it based off not any fair competitive thing. I would just run a poll. Just a poll.
Popularity
Just vote.
contest.
Yeah, it's a popularity contest to swap out the bottom 2 teams in the league anyways. They're probably not going to make noise in playoffs. Who cares about the competition angle? Give me fucking Moose Hater in the LCS with Duo King.
That would actually... This is probably very stupid, but I love the idea that it's just like at the end of the split, it's like, all right, it's in the arena, and Mark walks out and he's like, Shall Dignitas live or die? And it just thumbs up with the community and like Twitch chat poll and stuff like that. And it's just like, you know, the Dig leadership people are just sweating bullets. As it's like, they, you know, if you are losing, you better make the community give a shit about you through other means, because if you're losing and you're doing nothing, then you're dead.
Dignitas at least has done some content like their post-match threads and stuff, but like, yeah, just imagine not even like end of season. It's like Proving Grounds in the challenger scene is about like showcasing why fans should want you in the LCS, and then like week 5, if any team is like below a certain threshold, or anytime they drop below a certain threshold from week 4 or 5 onwards, they can be just churned out by like a popularity poll.
That would be crazy.
And they get their spot back at They get their spot back at the end of the start of next season, but they lose it for like this challenger team.
That's so crazy. It's so stupid. Okay,
dude, it would do so well. It's like, oh my god, if they lose one more game, they're up for the culling, or like, you know, call it some of those like weird dystopian terms.
Yeah,
from fucking all those sci-fi books. The Hunger Games.
So dumb. Okay,
the tribe has spoken.
So, what is this calling about? Dignitas, right? In their academy team. Okay. So I have an interview with Jensen that should be going out tomorrow. I can show it, I guess, after the stream or after the show, maybe on stream. But I had this theory that was like, okay, clearly they have good players, and yet they still cannot win games. What is left to blame? You know, if you're like, okay, well, on paper, this team should at least be taking some games. And my theory was the org. And it was basically like, this is evidence to me that the org cannot build the infrastructure it needs, or put these players in the right position, or give them what they need, or give them the analysts and the data, or I don't know, any number of different things. Because it's like, you have these players, they should be able to do well. And then I interviewed Jensen. Oh, Vile Black Magic says, holy crap, that's an awful take. I don't even think that's that bad of a fucking take.
What take?
What? Just the idea that like, if it's a good team but they still are losing, and like, what's the common denominator between Dignitas always suffering? Dignitas.
Okay.
It's always Dignitas. But then I interviewed Jensen, and Jensen kind of defended the organization and said, yeah, it's the players that are losing, and it's the players that deserve to have that. So there was no... Not to say that I thought he was going to come out swinging and be like, yeah, it's not me, it's this dog shit org. But like, he was just very clear in his like trying to correct that perception. So I don't know. Greeling here says, Travis has had a vendetta against Dig management for fucking years. Not surprised he's trying to pin it on them. So far on this show, I've been told that I'm biased against CLG, 100T, and now Dignitas. Who am I not biased against these days, I guess?
Well, that's the thing, Travis. You're biased against everyone. That's why you're such a negative person.
Am I?
Yes. So, I mean, like, I like a lot of the Dig players. I think that a lot of them would be successful in other environments or other combination of players. I've heard some rumors about things behind closed doors. There's, like, this hope that Ignar is going to come back and save them. I don't think it's going to happen. So, like, in the blame game, I've already basically said I'm not talking about them anymore. Like, they went from 0-4 to 0-6. It's like, okay, saw that one coming. I hope that they turn it around. I just have no faith based off how, like, lifeless it looks right now. So, yeah, I mean, like, to the caller's point, I would prefer to watch a lot of things over Dig games right now. And it's, again, not because I don't like them, but there's just like nothing to say. They don't really do anything. You know, they don't really like.
It almost feels like. Do you think? Well, let me ask you, Mark. Do you think it feels worse that they're players that should be? You know, it's like Jensen and Santorin. You know, and like both of whom I thought were pretty good in summer of last year, and so it makes it almost more disappointing to me. You know, whenever like. one of these bottom teams runs out 5 players you've never heard of and nobody cares about, it's like, yeah, okay. But like, I'm just like, oh god, this just feels bad.
I don't know if it's better or worse. 'Cause on the one hand, it's like, well, at least I'm watching players I like, but they're losing and it feels bad,
Yeah.
Whereas like, to your point, sometimes you just put out no names kind of, and it's like, well, I mean, even if these guys could be good, this is not an environment for them, and they're just like their careers are gonna end because they're not getting a fair shake in this like team or something. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know, both feel terrible. I don't think there's a way to not feel terrible about a 10th place team that has 0 wins so far right now.
So Raz has shown up in the chat, and he's trying to curry favor with me because I messaged him today and asked him to be a guest on the show, and he did not reply. And so he's now defending me by saying that I've defended Dig a lot in the past, and pointed out that a while ago I was, like maybe 2 years ago, I was arguing that Dig should get coaching staff of the split, and even implied that that was too generous. So there you go. Take that, haters. Boom. Raz says, I was in meetings with Mark. Yeah, but Mark was replying to my messages. All right. Saint, I guess we didn't address your should they sub in the academy team thing. Sure, why not? If you really don't think... Actually, here's what I'll say. Given this one last weekend, who do they play this... I shouldn't say weekend. This week. They play this week...
Yes. Pretty good teams.
C9, Golden Guardians, and TSM. If you can't pick up 2 of those 3 wins, then the culling occurs and the academy team gets voted in. That's my take.
I love it.
What
I
do you
would
think,
love
Mark?
to watch Jensen. I love it. Jensen and Santorin to go pub stomp some kitties in a challenger, smack some people around, get their confidence back, get their mojo back for a summer split rally to Worlds.
Boom. All right, Saint, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we go on to the next call?
Shout out to Alienware and the guy that said they should get Moose Hater and put Jensen on ADC. That was good.
Very good. Thank you so much for the call. I'll catch you next time. All right. Off to the next caller. Thank you to Escapegoat Gaiden TV for 50 months, 50. Holy shit. And then Austin B. Thank you, everybody, for the support. Really appreciate it. Somebody in the chat was earlier complaining that I don't release interviews on the weekends. I don't release interviews on the weekends because I have been doing my interviews on Friday. The subreddit has like a 24/7 or 24-hour spoiler thing. And also just putting content out on the weekends feels bad. Like it's not going to perform well. So, but I do release some videos. I just don't dump them all at once. Okay, Jur is here.
Travis,
What?
before you go any further, I will say I was doing some digging and analytics of some kinds, and I saw that Noon Sunday actually has a pretty good activity according to YouTube analytics.
Okay.
For our core demographics.
Well, I released the the Prince Doublelift interview around that time on Sunday, and I feel like it underperformed. So
that was late. That was not noon.
I'm gonna go look at this. I definitely think it was noon. I think it was like 11 maybe.
While Travis looks
Jur,
this up,
where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Montreal.
Montreal. Love Montreal. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So this is about the LeTigress taking a mental health break.
Oh, okay. We're back to the spicy topics.
Honestly, it's just like the vitriol and the hate towards LeTigress, I think, was just gross. You can not like your casting, but the stuff I saw on Reddit and Twitter was just like some really vile stuff. And I try and get my friends to play League like every once in a while, but then I look at the situation and it just makes me kind of frustrated. I looked into the cursory stats, and League is like 80-20 for guys to girls, whereas Valorant is double the amount of girls. I personally think this low number is like a huge factor as to why this kind of behavior happens. And I think Riot can do a much better job at appealing towards a female audience. I can keep going, but I'm not sure if you guys have any thoughts so far.
No, go for it.
So I'm not too familiar with Valorant, so everything I hear is from my girlfriend, but
when she talks about stuff like a canon romantic relationship between the female agents being posted on the official Valorant Instagram, or professional female teams, or Twitch streamers, or role models that she looks up to, I think, wow, League is like really lacking in that department. And to be honest, I'm not sure what a comprehensive solution entails, but speaking out about it, I think, is like a really good first step. And I think the broadcast could also take a firmer stance behind LeTigress. I'm not sure if you guys did. Sorry if I missed that. But I also know that League of Legends has kind of a reputation, at least within my friend group, of being like a sweaty, nerdy game for boys only. And I don't think Riot is doing a good job at dispelling that myth. And I also want to hear what your guys' thoughts is, if you guys have any experience with trying to get non-League players to play League, or what they generally think about League as a video game or esport.
So one, I want to note that we discussed a lot of the LeTigress stuff last week, which does not mean that I don't want to discuss it now. Can anyone hear me? Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my Discord. I keep joining rooms and I can't hear things. People can't hear me. So this is a very poor topic to have connectivity issues.
Everyone can hear you right now.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, this is frustrating that, like, I'm like, I can't even hear what half the shit being said.
Sure. But
sorry if I cut you off.
No, you're good. So all I was saying is we talked about the LeTigress stuff last week, and so I don't think we're going to do a full rehash on everything that went down and like Riot's poor communication around it, even though it's relevant to this topic. So people should go back and like listen to that if you missed last week's episode. Look at the timestamp. In terms of the gender ratio, I agree that it is pretty disappointing. I will say that I've heard anecdotally that it is getting better with the newer, younger players that are coming into the space. That you see, for players that have played more recently, maybe they're starting to play League while they're in college or something. That the ratio is a lot different than it used to be way back in the day when League first launched. I think there's probably a lot of different reasons for that. Again, anecdotally, it feels like playing video games is more broadly accepted for women in a way that before it was considered like a men's thing only by newer generation folks. I think also Riot has had to deal with a lot of reflection in the last half a decade, and they've gotten better, I think, about broadening the world. Even things like Arcane, I think, has probably done a pretty good job of helping that, but no doubt there's still work to be done. And I mean, it is both Emily and LeTigress, whenever they're on screen, like, it is pretty shitty, the type of stuff that you see in the Twitch chat during those times. And I mean, we've talked about the stuff on the show, but I gotta imagine that it does not feel good whenever you are like a woman trying to get into following League esports and you look at Twitch chat and it's just like anytime a girl's on screen, people turn into idiots. So yeah, I think that's fascinating. Or rather, I think one fascinating thing that kind of goes along with this that Mark is going to meme on me for is, I was talking about this a little bit before the show started. The place where it feels even worse, the place where I have seen the least diverse crew ever in my life is Magic the Gathering. And it is actually crazy how, like, I've gone to a couple events now and it's so skewed. And I think one thing that I've tried to do is just be very welcoming and opening and trying to get a lot of friends to who I think normally would not be drawn towards the game or feel welcome or whatever to come play Magic and draft with us. And we've done a pretty good job, I think, of expanding that crew and making a more diverse group of people who are playing Magic, which has been a goal for me with sort of building a local community around all that. And I think, there's a lesson for me there in that if you want to help contribute to this, I do think that besides the obvious things like being a civilized human being and calling out bad behavior, there's also an opportunity to try to be welcoming and opening to people who historically have not probably been welcomed into the space, to try to improve the situation. So I don't know. This is one thought that I've had that has been a bit of a personal anecdote for me in the past couple months. So I don't know, Mark. What do you think?
So I missed some of the beginning of the take. This was highly upvoted in Discord, and I think it's worth talking about, even though we did talk about it a little bit last week. Just as a different angle, that like ways to increase other demographics, other than I think the one that League has been targeted towards for a long period of time, is we're talking about, and part of that is like having representation of women and other like I said, demographics we're trying to hit. And unfortunately, if the people who are that representation are getting slammed, and like again, we all agreed that the segment was not good, but the degree of it was way too overblown, and yeah, it's gonna hurt in the long term as people who might have worked like phase out or don't want to do it or whatever, if it burns them out or something like that. So definitely have concerns about that impact, as well as just like, yeah, let's try and figure out ways to grow them, like you said.
And you know what? I want to take it one even step further, and as much as I think it's important to address the way women and others are treated in the space, also just some people are such fucking assholes. Like that's actually something that drives me crazy. Is like I went to the Reddit thread early on, and of Gabby saying she was going to take the weekend off or the week off as a bit of a break, and like one of the first comments was like, "Good. I wish that she could just stop. She could just stop all the time." Like people are so just mean and angry. Like, yeah, okay, maybe you don't like her, but why are you like, you know what? I'm going to open up this fucking Reddit thread, and this is the way that I feel like I need to post. And like, you just see this all over the place. Just don't be an asshole. It is like not that hard, people. Like, you can say, "Oh, I don't think that this person's casting is for me," or "I don't like the way that this person, I don't like how Mark dresses." That's a thing that many people feel. But you can say it in a way that is a little bit more appreciative or polite than going in there and being like, "I never want to see Mark's terrible fucking apparel ever on camera ever again." And so I think that it's like, just don't be an asshole. Like it's so easy to not do that. And people are just like, "Nah, you know what I've got to do today? I got to go leave the shittiest fucking comment on YouTube or on Twitter or on Reddit or any of these places." And it's just so annoying.
Yeah, I think that's the part that like the haters, that to use that term, like just totally gloss over, is like, oh well, there's like legitimate criticism oftentimes of many things. I'm not just talking about Gabby, but like parts of the broadcast or like whatever it is, to move it just even beyond like gender type things. But like people are so eager to just rip the broadcast apart or rip a specific person apart. That's like, you're not even like, there's just absolutely zero nuance, and like whatever point that you think you're making just gets lost in like the vitriol. And it's like, what's the takeaway here? Even in the Twitch chat, there's some comments about like, what, you're just saying that like, people when they make mistakes should have no repercussions. Yeah, they can just go around and just fuck up and it's not a big deal. And it's like, no one said that. Like, no one's saying that like the segment was good, or that like the community shouldn't speak out about things they don't like that the LCS is doing. Like, I think there's a difference between that and being like hard flaming someone. Like I don't.
No,
I think
and maybe that's the thing, is that
spectrum of responses.
Maybe that's the thing, is that maybe there is a group of people who cannot understand that like things are not binary, in terms of, well, if I don't like something, I should be able to just be as horrible about it as possible. And they think that that's the
Because
same
I'm
thing
right.
as like expressing like your disappointment in something. There's a difference between, yeah, I went to that restaurant and I don't know, it just wasn't for me. I felt like the vibe was off, versus that person being like, I never want to go there again. The fucking chef sucked. I can't believe you took me there. Blah 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 blah. Blah. Like people, you know, it's just such a. And again, I don't know if it's because people are. I just have like a higher expectations for humanity that people can understand the nuances between. Wow, I don't like that the segment ran the way that it did, and I feel like she made a mistake. Versus, I should be allowed to go into a Reddit thread and talk about everything I dislike about this person. I don't know. It's just so exhausting sometimes. It is one of my least favorite things about this job, is just having to spend so much time seeing this stuff, and it just gets tiresome. And then I think that the other thing that happens,
And we're
is
not even the targets of it. Haha.
you get these comments in all these chats that always say like, well, it's very naive to think that can't happen, like that it can't just be different, or like, wow, you know, you just need to have reasonable expectations. That's always going to happen. I'm like, no, that's not. Like, the world can be better than it is. We try to improve humanity and civilization. It doesn't have to just be like, well, that's just how humans are. That's just hate on the internet. That's the way it goes. It's like, yeah, but you can also say not to do it, and you can try to say it's shitty, and you should try to convince people to be nicer. Like, I don't know. It's just so annoying. Anyway, Jur, sorry. Obviously, you set me off a little bit with my frustrations on these topics.
We triggered Travis. Let's go.
But I don't know, Jur, if you had anything that you wanted to add.
No, I think having these kind of conversations, I think, is overall just good for the scene, I guess, and then just being able to call out bad behavior whenever we see it, I think helps people know that, you know, that's not acceptable and it's not normal to behave in that way.
Yep. No, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for the call. Anything that you want to shout out?
Yeah, I want to shout out Dash's podcast, Last Hit with Artemis. I'm not sure why Dash is off the LCS broadcast, but the podcast is pretty good.
Listen.
Oh, and shout out to Alienware.
He doesn't have enough time to do the broadcast. He's jumping out of planes. Okay. Thank you so much, Jur, for the call. We'll catch you next time. Mark, you want to go grab the next caller? Hopefully this time I don't get as angry. D Fitch, thank you for the sub. And Jargly Parf, thank you for the prime. What else we've got going on in chat, people? Somebody says, Travis is delusional, and it's hilarious he thinks that people being anonymous won't be shitty. You can have, like, I understand that anonymity allows for that type of thing. I also think it's fair to say, don't do it, you know, or be better.
I think it's also, there's a lot of people who weren't anonymous who are being shitty.
Yeah. Dean, where are you calling from?
Hello, I'm calling from Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
South Dakota. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I've got a significantly less serious topic than the LeTigress one. And it's that Prince and Doublelift has the potential to be a split-defining rivalry based on how the matches between 100 Thieves and FlyQuest end up going for the rest of the split and maybe even season.
Ooh. Go ahead and elaborate.
Yeah, so you can look at it both in terms of like in-game stats, how like Prince is currently one of like the front runners for MVP with like goal difference at 15, kills on the team, and Doublelift right now looks like the star player on 100T. But then you add in everything else like behind the scenes. Prince inspired to play League of Legends because of Doublelift, and Doublelift's reaction to doing the interview and doing the double jersey signing with him. There's just a lot of really cool storylines between those two players, and it has the potential to be just something that can help draw in a much wider audience to kind of like see the humanity behind these two players. And it's not a rivalry that we've seen really since like Sneaky versus Doublelift or like Jensen versus Bjerg.
So whenever I was walking away from the studio on Friday, I was talking to Drew, my video guy, and we were talking about the interview. And I just said, man, wouldn't it be cool if those guys played against each other in the finals? Like, I would love... What, Mark?
I was about to ask you the same thing to like agree with this topic. You know, so this was the argument I had phrased in my head is like, name a better finals, you know?
Yeah.
Than these two would have.
Yeah, I think so. And then I think the two teams also have a lot in common in terms of the way that those rosters were built and I think, Doublelift and Prince being a guy towards the end of his career, post the end of his career in some ways, and then Prince coming over here and obviously feeling so emotional just around the fact that you get to play him, I think is really awesome. My concern with this take is there's a chance these guys only play 4 games against each other this entire year. I mean, it's less likely, but like, I think this is an argument for the LEC format where we would get to I think based off my limited understanding of it, we would have much higher chances of these guys playing each other because you start having games where other teams are not around, and obviously they're both towards the top of the league.
So I can jump in on that real quick. That
Yeah.
actually depends on like if they get drawn into the same group for like that second stage and eventually like third stage, because it was like a group draw for the second like part of their split, and then they would play a best of 3 against whoever they got matched up with. So there's a chance they could get even less than 2 games against each other.
Yeah.
On this topic, I agree that it sounds like what we have right now, the best rivalry going in league or like matchup in terms of like emotional stakes. I think there's other good candidates, like I think if EG and 100 Thieves met in the finals, it'd kind of be like the players that left 100 Thieves battling like their replacements kind of thing. Like there's a lot of like little narratives that you can build up around stuff like that. I do think they are somewhat differently constructed in the sense that like it's 2 of the goats of NA going up against 2 of the flashiest new imports we've ever had. Like there's a lot of ways you can sell this as well beyond the initial like Doublelift Prince thing, but I can't think. So that's like obviously for finals. Is there a better like a player storyline right now going on?
Not that I can think of. I mean, I feel like a lot of the other stories have kind of dried up or have not revealed themselves. I mean, CLG could have been a really cool story if they didn't suck.
We got a CLG take. Don't blow your load yet.
So I think that could have been interesting. Dignitas could have been interesting. I think a lot of the teams that could be interesting are just not. They're not doing much. We haven't really heard too much about Diplix yet as a player in person. I know people like to pretend he's like sneaky 2.0 or something, but and then the JoJo storyline I feel like is just a little quiet right now. So I definitely feel like the Prince FlyQuest in general I think is probably the most interesting team right now with right next to 100 Thieves, and so these guys playing each other I think is very fun, and then the fact that the ADs obviously have a notable connection is probably it.
Yeah, I think in some ways, normally it's like I feel like Doublelift elevating other people's storylines, but here it's actually Prince doing it by being, like the caller said, the front runner of the MVP. Seems like the best player in the league by a substantial margin, and he is the one who brings like this huge connection to another player in the LCS, which happens to be Doublelift. So like,
I mean, this is like
I think that's
my heart breaks because I'm sure Prince will leave LCS in the next year or two because all imports do, but I think like this could be the like handoff that the LCS never got from Peter's retirement, right? Like we've talked, I think, in the past before about how like Bjergsen and Peter were the biggest faces in the league, and then there was not really anything done so that whenever Bjergsen went to coach and Peter went to go stream, that like we never really had that. I think for a long time people have half joked about Doublelift being the main character of the LCS. This is kind of that moment where you could have that legacy handoff where if Prince actually was able to stick around and you had like a fun battle between the 2 of them, and then Peter does go away in a year or two, and then Prince is able to like, his personality, his charisma, his strength, his all that stuff is able to really become the next main character. I think that could be really cool, though I think the chances of it are slim.
Yeah, I mean, you can be a downer, Travis. Papa Smithy will surely keep this team together. I think Doublelift might retire as well. I don't know. I think it is a little scary putting this many eggs in a incredibly talented young import like Prince, and what if he leaves us again? We have a lot of trauma.
Oh, that sounds a
emotional
little bit
damage.
like a Doomer take, Mark.
I'm saying I empathize with your Doomer take and your emotional damage of players always abandoning you after you've interviewed them a bunch of times and running back across the oceans and other directions out of the LCS.
I miss you, Takui.
Yep, Takui, Alfari, Perks, all those guys. But Summit came back. All right. The prodigal
For now.
son.
Do you
MVP.
think, Mark, do you think Summit is in the LCS in spring of 2024?
Absolutely. He'll be gone, but he'll be gone in summer of 2023.
Yes,
but
that's what I was.
that
was a joke I was going to make. The only way he's here in spring 2024 is if he's not here in summer 2023.
Yes. No, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I am relatively confident in other ways. Like Harry and Jan feel cool. Like I appreciate them. Busio, Tenacity, JoJo's still doing it, even though like I know the story's not as high. I mean, in a lot of ways, like the cool storylines follow whoever's the best team. And it was really easy to do like the young rookie NAs of JoJo and Danny when they were dominating. And like, should FlyQuest fall off, hopefully there's some new people we can tell stories about.
Yeah,
pretty easily.
Hey, thanks so much for the call, Dean. Anything you want to shout out before we go on to the next caller?
Yeah, shout out to myself from the September 7th, 2022 edition of Hotline League when I correctly predicted that Spica would end up on FlyQuest, and both you and Revenge roasted me for it. I just want to say that I got that right, and I demand a public apology.
Did you say he's gonna end up on FlyQuest because FlyQuest will sell to a new owner who will have a dramatically different budget?
That doesn't matter. I was right.
Oh, okay.
That was Travis. That was implied. It's your fault for not picking up on the obvious details.
Goodbye.
Yeah, clearly it was so obvious in hindsight.
Hey, Dean.
He was destined there.
Hey, Dean. Fuck you. Have a good one. Bye. All right. I have to go grab the next caller, Marcos. Thank you to Jargly Parf, Mad Fishy, Smoke Dog, so many things, and Taco Burrito. Thank you, everybody. Business Cycle is here. Business, where are you calling from?
Calling from Vietnam.
Vietnam. Oh, okay. Have you called in before?
No, this is my first time.
Oh, well, welcome to the show. What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
Yeah, my take was that CLG going 0-4 after their first week shows that it was a mistake to keep the same roster, and their idea of like building the synergy with the same players is pretty fake, and they're going to go 0-3 this Super Week.
They're going to go 0-3 this week.
That there's too much turnover in the LCS is fucking wrong. That's the other part of this take.
I don't think that's part of his take. Business Cycle, do you want to expand on this, though, or should we hop in on it?
Yeah, I guess I'll just say something. Like I still don't really understand why they decided to like keep this roster when like last year their best achievement was like winning 1 playoff games against Golden Guardians, and contract shown that in spring he was really bad, and like they didn't even make playoffs there. So yeah, I still don't really see the reason that they keep the same roster.
Yeah. All right. So I tried to have this conversation 2 weeks ago, so let me see if I can do it better now. I, even now, still believe that CLG made the right decision because the team was on the uptick. It looked like it had potential to grow and become better. And I think that it is very easy when you make changes to a team, you really have no idea what's going to happen. You can hedge against the idea, or against it potentially going sideways, by trying to get quote unquote better players or players who have more experience, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, looking at Dignitas, looking at Vitality from last year, like, you do not always know what you are going to get. And what CLG had was a roster that was seemingly showing a lot of, I know everybody likes to mean the word potential, but potential for not a lot of money. And quite frankly, there was not, I think, one singular clear weak link on that team. So if you're going to make changes, you have to like really start to mess with some stuff in order to see what you can do. And so I think that even if you look at it and you say, well, 50-50 that this actually works out, those odds are still maybe better than going and spending a ton of money and making changes that you don't really know how they're going to go. And so I think that I simultaneously think that it is fair to have been skeptical that the CLG roster could put up better results than they did last year at a time where people feel like the league has improved. And also think that if you're playing the odds, that it is still a better idea to run it back and see if it can do better. Especially because, as a wise man once said, spring split doesn't matter, and you can always see what you can do in summer. So I still think this is the right decision, even if I stand by my skepticism early on. Does that make sense? Is it clear now?
No,
Mark?
it makes you a hypocrite, Travis.
These are not incompatible philosophies.
Danon has also outed himself in Twitch chat as not watching the LCS broadcast when he said, has anyone ever same rostered themselves from outside the top 3 to inside the top 3? No, because if you watch the LCS, you would know that we did a segment talking about the 4 other teams in LCS history that have kept the same roster year over year, and all of them played in the finals, won a finals, or made worlds in summer split. So thanks for not watching, I guess.
How often do rosters ever stay the same?
Like I said, it's happened 4 times in those years, the entire history of the LCS.
So that's my point, is like, this is a pretty fucking small sample size.
It's a small sample size, and the teams that did it were already successful. I think this is a good experiment to run, I guess. I wouldn't run it, but I'm glad someone did, because it's not
What
working.
would you have done, Mark? What changes would you have made? Like, that was part of the challenge, too, with that roster.
I mean, to be fair, of course, like, you have to look at the options on paper. Maybe they're all just terrible, and that's the reason you don't do anything. But I don't know. I don't know what the options were. Like, could I have outbid someone for anything? I have no idea.
I just think the challenge is that there was not a clear weak link for that team.
I agree there's not a clear weak link. I think that there are probably still some things I would have looked into.
So the other context I just want to add here is that CLG did not go into the offseason saying to themselves, we're sticking with these guys. It was not like the famous Jack quote about how they were not going to make any changes, and then Oceania became available for North America, and then the whole roster blew up. It was they were actively looking for other options during the offseason, or to make changes if they felt like there was one, and they just felt like there weren't any that fit what they were looking for in comparison to keeping these 5 guys. So I'm not saying that any is a form of argument or an assertion or anything like that. It's just important context for those that care.
Yeah, I mean, like, so to defend the practice, like you were just doing a little bit, it's like it was a relatively cheap roster that overperformed, got 5th place. Maybe that was their peak. Maybe they could get a little bit better. You run it back and see if that's the case. Nope, not the case. I feel like, I admit that there are times where this isn't true, but I feel like in League of Legends, a team can usually reach its potential basically in a year, close to it. Like not all the time. There's exceptions, but generally speaking, if you run a roster for a year and it's not working, you kind of know it's not going to work.
How do we know that? Nobody ever does it.
People do it all the time.
I was talking about the. You said there were only 4 teams that have ever run it back.
Yeah, but I'm saying the reason they don't is because by the end of the year, you kind of know how things are going. Like, for example, we kind of tried to run back 2016 TL between 2015 and 2016. And that just blew up. Just fucking, like all the problems that you manifested over the course of that year carry over into the next year. And there's like grievances and there's all these like social elements and all these things that can go bad. And so, like, I don't know. It seems I think that usually after a year, if you've been coached well and you've worked well together, and you should roughly have reached your potential as a team in a year. Not like the players have reached their potential, but like, and maybe someone levels up, and of course there are exceptions. But I don't know. There's other leagues as well that sometimes don't do the turnover. This was just LCS, the stats. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the times in traditional sports, I know you love these. Your favorite thing, traditional sports, Travis.
T-sports.
People end up in less turnover because the contracts are just longer. They're written that way, which helps cut down on turnover. But I wonder if they existed in a faster paced ecosystem, if they wouldn't also optimize for higher turnover rates. I wonder how much of that is a product of like optimal performance versus optimal business.
Well, I remember hearing a
because
couple years ago that the NBA was moving towards a world where like they were doing
people hop
roster
teams
swaps
all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah. NBA has moved its meta the most of, I think, a lot of sport. I don't follow baseball, admittedly, or hockey, so this could be wrong, but like football hasn't changed as much. But yeah, basketball was like super teams were like basically like players who just negotiate like, hey, let's all go play in Miami this year. Like, let's all go to Golden State Warriors. It was very much motivated by like just wanting to win with their homies and stuff. So like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like somewhat similar, I think, to LCS in that way.
Yeah. Did we answer your take,
something?
business cycle?
Wait.
Oh.
Someone quickly. Someone in Twitch said that argument makes no sense. Mark, how can players get better but the teams stay the same? That implies teams actually getting worse as a team. No, it's the idea that there's things beyond individual skill that it has to do with how a team interacts. Like, it's very unlikely that the social dynamics of your team are going to change. The way that you approach the games are going to change. Like those things, it's really hard to be like, okay, so we have this structure that we set up that we've been running for a year, and now we're going to change that. Like even if a player gets better, they're still working within a system, and you kind of know how that system goes. So like there are times where like a SMEB emerges where it's like this guy was shit and now he's a god. Wow. But like more often than not, that's not what happens. And more often than not, then you just get more of the same that you just spent the last year doing.
Anyway, business cycle. Sorry, is there anything that you wanted to add? Did we miss anything?
Yeah, I guess I just like to say that Mark is like true about the part that it's rare that like a player or a team gets better over time, and usually they just like implode after a year of playing together. So, like let's see. I guess like you can take a 2019 G2 is like a very rare example of a team that's like actually maintained their level.
Yeah.
And I guess the bad example can be the 2013 SKT team that won Worlds that year and then didn't even make Worlds next year because like their playing field just leveled up too much and their players like didn't catch up enough to that. So yeah.
Thank
so,
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Business cycle. Thank you for the point. Is there anything that you would like to shout out before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I like to shout out to the VCS English people. They cover my region for free, so if you can support them, that'd be great. You can go join their Discord or sub to their Twitch channel and catch games at like 3-4 a.m. in America. Yeah, and shout out to I Will Dominate. I like his co-streams a lot and helps me understand LPL a lot more than I did. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you. Yeah, see you.
One final thing I'll throw in quickly here, I'm too lazy to type this in Twitch chat, is also that like League is not like a lot of sports or something where like the game doesn't radically change and there's like metas and like you just get fucking blasted back to ground zero. We did a Jenga bit where we were joking about like building teams and stuff in LCS is like playing Jenga, you know, and it's kind of true where sometimes it's just like, all right, AD carries is the most important position in the world now. Boom. Or like, all right, tanks are the meta top now. Boom. And they're like, all right, well, everything we've been practicing with like Fiora and Quinn and this shit is just stupid now. We're playing Ornn, Sion every game. And like, you just like, these things reset you quite frequently in terms of like skill. That that you just don't have to deal with, I think, in a lot of other some semi-comparable situations.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for the. Oh, he's gone. All right. Thank you so much to Pilgrim Panda and Gangsta Kartik. By the way, I'm still playing Nikkei. If anybody's playing that game, I've been getting many waifus lately, and just wanted to mention that I got Snow White. All right, Kilo is here. Kilo, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from San Antonio, Texas. How's it going?
San Antonio, Texas. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I have your favorite kind of topics. I want to talk about how Solo is a top 3 laner in the LCS, with only Impact and Fudge being better than him right now.
All right, make the argument.
Okay, so I definitely think Solo for a long time has been slept on, ever since that FlyQuest run back in 2020 where, back-to-back summer finals, which is obviously not easy to do. He kind of got slept on in, 2021 spring. Didn't really ended up on CLG or something. Then in Golden Guardians comes around in the summer, puts up a great showing, shows that he can compete, brings the eventual winners in TSM to 5 games. And then, again, slept on, not getting anything. Comes back in at the last minute for TSM back in 2022 after not really having a team on the LCS level, and again gives them like a great showing, immediately elevates their level in a really struggling situation. And I think you can really pin a lot of that on him since it's been consistent. I think in addition to just like being a solid top laner that elevates the rest of people around him as an argument for being top 3, he's got one of the best storylines, as somebody who he's kind of like what everybody wanted Dardoch to be, the super talented, toxic guy who eventually got over his toxicity and, could achieve something. And, what better nickname is there than the mercenary?
He's got the best hair in the LCS too while you're at it.
That's true. I don't know. Travis is up there. I think if he was on there, he could have the best hair.
I
needs more mullet.
Not.
Sure.
I'm not sold on the mullet stuff. He has a very distinct hairstyle. I will agree with that, but it's some people, you love it or you hate it. Anyway, Mark, is Solo a top 3 top laner in the LCS in spring 2023?
You answer first, Travis. What do you think I'm going to say?
I think you're going to say no.
I'm going to say absolutely.
Really?
Best. No.
You're using that tone that you use where you don't sound genuine.
I'm not genuine. Listen, I love Solo. I think he is underrated. We had like that top lane ranking section with Fudge, at the start of the year. He was like putting Solo off the screen on like the low end, I was like, come on, you can't do him like that. I think, I don't, it sounds like he's better as a player, to the caller's point, or as his teammate. And I think he has a very specific way that he approaches the game, which is really good in some situations and not very good in others. And in teams and metas where you can kind of stick your top laner on the weak side and win through other means, he is really good about knowing how to absorb pressure. He's really good about knowing his personal win cons in a game. He's really good on tanks. He does not even attempt to play the carries. And this is just like, I'm fine with people having play styles, but even Impact, someone who has like, this tank philosophy, will like play Gwen and shit. And like, yeah, I know he has the GP, like I know he can, but like, it's just so different than even like other tank players in the world who get that kind of moniker. Like, he is so far into that rabbit hole that like, yes, it works really well in situations that use him that way, but like, I don't think it's fair to say that makes him better than other players who have more versatility and diversity and are playing in situations where they can actually carry games and like give more draft options and stuff. So like,
So
I hear what you're saying.
Which are the other ones that are above him other than Impact and Fudge then?
Well, it depends what you're talking about. Are you saying for performance this split or skill?
No, I hadn't really considered that. I guess I would say performance this split.
If you were just
is
power
what's
ranking this
relevant.
split top laners, Mark.
Well, so when I do like my tier list, I tend to limit it to solely performance. So if you're saying performance this split, I think it'd be a little higher than normal. I think Armit's been not very good. I think LeTigress has been struggling. I think Dokla's been struggling. Even Summit, to this point, I was just making about playstyle. I think like Summit is a significantly better laner. I think he's a better player. I think he's more, even though he has champ pool issues, I think he can like actually win you games. Or I think that's not something Solo's going to do. But right now he's also losing them games, and like Solo is very consistent, right? So like, I don't think I would ever say that Summit is a better, or Solo's a better player. But like, if I was strictly going based off performance, I feel like Solo's been very reliable for TSM. And like that Scion game that he played, like that pick and CLG's stupid ass Jace counter pick that they put themselves in against it, allowed him to solo carry that game because that dive that happened got him 2 kills. You know, like
You're saying he can't carry a game, and then you proceed to say he carried a game on his tank picks.
bro, they picked you can't like what did he do? Fucking mind control CLG to pick Jace mid and go all AD after the enemy team takes Scion. Like if he can actually do that, then you're right. Actually, I should rate him much higher if he can actually control other people's minds. Then I'm very much underrating him. I don't think he actually has that skill set though.
Mullet is hypnotizing. I would.
Maybe it is. So to finish out my ranking, you know, there's a number of people I would put over him. I'd put him like right up there around Revenge and Tenacity tier currently. I think someday Impact, Fudge. Am I missing one of the other good ones?
No.
Someday Impact, Fudge are like significantly ahead of him. I would say Tenacity is probably a little bit ahead of him, and even Revenge I would put like a little bit ahead of him. I put him probably like 6-ish right now.
Really?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, quickly. Which like I think he's good. Don't get me wrong. I think top 3. He's just lacking some of the things that I think are really important for what I would want out of my top laner to do. But I also would be happier with him on a team that has more firepower coming out of other positions. You know, like he's a very situational player. He's like, I don't know, Travis, give me a Magic card comparison where it's like this card almost always generates value. It's usually a good card to play, but it's like hardly ever the game winner. You know, it's not like a bomb. It's just like a little bit like a value engine kind of thing. I don't know.
A fetch land.
Sure, I don't fucking know.
What, cultivate?
Yeah.
Bull ring,
Arcane Signet.
draw 2, pot of greed. I don't know.
For sure. I think
No, he's more just like he's like a body that you drop. You know, like I know Hearthstone. It's just like he's got good stats. You drop him, you know, you feel good about the tempo that you got, but like or like you're used to mana. You know, it felt good, but like it didn't. It's not going to win. Like not going to blow anyone out.
I guess I would value that more right now because you know the other laners in the league that I would say other than Impact and Fudge that are close to him would be Tenacity and Summit, and obviously Summit is not that body you can drop because he just gets bodied, you know, when the enemy jungler comes. And then Tenacity feels like he's almost there, but you know, not quite. And he just doesn't. Summit or Solo just feels like he creates so much space for his team that these other 2 players in Tenacity and Summit really don't feel like. And then I don't know. I've been avoiding the Immortals games, so I can't really speak too much on
Revenge. Revenge has actually been pretty good, I will say. He's been quietly one of the big.
The Graves meta, and he was killing it there, so I have a lot of respect for him.
I'm thinking about making a video about Revenge and how Revenge is like the tragedy of North America, and that he's never had a chance to be on a good team, and so as a North American player, he will never have a chance to like fully realize his potential in an environment that could actually like help him improve and get better and all that stuff, because you have teams like Team Liquid that are like Alfari baby, wait, Whippo baby. You know, it's just
I feel like there's a world, you know, where like in an alternate reality for some reason Revenge is picked up instead of Fudge, and like in a system with C9 with like other great players around him, he's popping off.
Yes.
Know? Not that he would have exactly Fudge's career, but like, you know, he could have been a LeTigress. He could have been a Fudge. He could have been one of these young guys.
But he was born
and plays well
in North America. the greatest sin a man can make. Okay.
And they said, you know what? Instead of being a good player on a top team, you're going to be the franchise player on a shit team.
I do
You know?
have one more point to bring it back to solo. But first,
Make it-
Mark,
make it-
would
make
you-
it quick.
Would you say, would you say Impact is the best top laner in the league right now? Just for like a quick stat here.
I think him, Fudge, and Someday have all kind of gone in circles this split. I feel like they are a clear top 3.
Okay, fair enough. I would say Impact is the best. I think there would be a lot of people that agree with me. Of the top 6 top laners, everybody in the top 6 of the LCS, there are only 2 that go negative at like CSD Gold and XP at 15, and that is Impact and Solo. That's all I'm saying.
We love the
He's-
random
he's-
stats.
He's as good as Impact. Based
Wait,
on
what
those
about
stats
what about
alone.
Licorice?
Oh, he's not in the top 6.
Oh, so okay, I got you.
Kilo, thank you
Wait,
so much.
Licorice
Anything
is
you
tied
want to
for
shout
top
out?
6, isn't he?
Licorice is tied for 7th.
Oh, he's 7th. You're right.
Kilo,
Just wait.
anything you would like to shout out?
Long time podcast listener, first time caller. Thanks for having me on. Love Magic the Gathering. Travis, go to your local pre-release.
I did.
Mark, I've loved your analysis for a long time. So, thanks for having me on, and hope you have a great 2023.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right, we got one remaining caller to go, and Mark is off to get him. Thank you to Sportsnut911, Aeon Rack, and Jason Krieg Alt. Thank you. Living Legend is here. Living Legend, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Austin, Texas.
Sorry, Living Legend. It's just very funny because Revenge just showed up in the chat and said, "What did I just walk into?" After our last call. It's very funny timing.
Travis and I were just defending your honor, Revenge. That's what was happening. Someone called in and said Solo was the 3rd best top laner in the LCS this split. We argued about some of that, and he said he didn't watch Immortals games because he can't bring himself to. And then I said, Revenge has actually been good this split.
Living Legend is here. Remind me, where are you calling from?
Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So my take is pretty simple. I think Golden Guardians at the moment are a top 5 LCS team.
Whoa! You say pretty simple. Now, do you mean like intellectually simple? Because I feel like some people are going to think that you're being simple with that take.
I mean, just like,
Headshot him. What the fuck?
statement wise, maybe I can dive deeper into like what I mean by that.
Yeah. Please dive in. I'm just kidding.
So I think like the main focal point of this team is their mid jungle with Gory and River. Like starting with River, I think he's been pretty underrated since the time he's been in LCS. Like I think he just knows like all the perfect timings to find a gank and maybe some cheese picks that I feel like some junglers are missing out on this season. Normally I would say Closer is good at that, but this season I'm not too sure about that. And I think Gory is also a very good laner. I think he's shown a lot of good flexibility with his picks, right? I think he had some good control mage games on Azir, and he's showing the ability to play roaming champs with Talia. And he's always been pretty proficient on melees from his past, like with Yasuo, Sylas. So I think this team is set for 5th, but I also think there's a pretty big gap from 5th place and then 4th place.
Okay. Who are your 4 ahead of them?
Right now, I think FlyQuest is definitely first, and then I'd probably say EG, 100 Thieves, C9.
Okay, so you think Golden Guardian's better than Team Liquid?
Yeah, I do think they're good. The Team Liquid.
Because I think, honestly, like, I don't think you're too far off from, like, your take is not that unreasonable as much as I memed on it. Except if you can convince people that they are better than Team Liquid. Because I don't think too many people are going to get angry at the idea that, like, they could be better than TSM and CLG and Immortals and Dig, right? Like, if you say that they're at the head of that pack, I don't think that that's that crazy. I mean, a lot of people will disagree, right? They might be like, oh no, TSM, or something like that. But I don't think it's that crazy.
Well-
I think the issue you're going to run into is TL.
People are saying TL boring. Okay, wait, no, that person's disagreeing. Okay, one person said TL is such a boring team. Dude, TL is they're fucking insane. Like Yon and Core JJ are getting solo killed or solo kills every single laning phase. Like he's just walking up and spraying a brush and killing himself with Core, or he's playing Sona and winning it. Summit's an absolute madman. I think he's the most entertaining player to watch in the LCS. Harry and Yon as rookie players make some funny plays sometimes. Pioshik's just kind of like running around. They're disjointed as hell, but they're also like talented enough that like they still don't get blown out in games. Like, dude, TL is so fun to watch. On to the Golden Guardians point of this talk. I think it's not unreasonable at all. I think TSM and Golden Guardians will drop a little bit. I think Golden Guardians, Immortals, wait, did I say TSM and CLG are going to drop a little bit? Golden Guardians, Immortals, and Team Liquid are going to fight for the 2 remaining playoff spots if I was going to predict how the second round robin went in the rest of the split. I think you're right that, FlyQuest is the best, and you have the next 3 of 100 Thieves, Cloud9, and EG. I think Team Liquid should be one of those top 6 teams. I think they should be 5th. They are doing their best to convince me that I'm stupid. And then Golden Guardians at 6, between 5th and 6th, it's pretty comparable. I think if TSM can hold on, I'd be pretty impressed. I don't know if that will be the case. And then Immortals has a chance if they keep improving. But I'm a little skeeved out on Immortals. Like I want them to do well, and I think if Kenvi can kind of keep up that level of confidence he was having on his carry picks, I'll be really happy. But then immediately the next game they took him off a carry, if I remember correctly, and I was like, what are you guys doing? Like he just had one of his best games in the LCS. He helped you in the mid game, even though he didn't get a ton of kills, and then you just like put him back on this bullshit that's not what he's like known for. I don't know.
The issue with Immortals is that their top laner fucking sucks. Well,
it's tough anytime you have to carry his carcass around, but
yeah,
still.
exactly. That's the biggest issue. I think here the issue for me is like it is no one should feel more embarrassed if Golden Guardians is 5th than Team Liquid. Like that is for me that is basically where you're kind of at, right? Is like I think Golden Guardians should not be 5th because I don't think that they are good enough to be 5th. And the only way they are is if Team Liquid is embarrassingly bad given the components that they have. And maybe they are, but I'm not convinced they're that bad yet. So until I am convinced that they are actually that much of a disaster, again, given the components, I'm going to hold off on granting Golden Guardians that 5th place spot.
I can maybe add a point regarding TL. So I think like with TL, right? I think one of the problems they have right now, obviously Summit is like trying his best to like run it down every game, but I think Core has been underperforming pretty hard. Like when you think of Core as think of what he did when he first came to NA back in 2019, like the best player in the league. I don't think he's very proficient on these range supports. And something I see on Golden Guardians I was quite surprised by was Huhi. Hui's pretty well known from his time on 100 Thieves and Golden Guardians with melee supports and engage supports. And I think he's been playing range supports pretty good this split so far. So I think there might be some better adaptations being made by the Golden Guardians bot lane. But I think LeTigress is kind of a weak point on Golden Guardians. He's seems to me kind of like a coin flip player.
I think LeTigress and Stixxay.
Yeah, Stixxay. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Stixxay as well, I don't think he's as good as like Wolf, Berserker, Yon in them, but yeah.
Sorry, I'm laughing. Fucking, you know how Fleshy put an extra space in his name and we did that whole bit? I'm looking at stats on our website, like the internal one, and there's just like all these different Fleshy games because he's fucking changed his name. So it's just, I can't even look at these. Anyways, I think I agree that like Core, this has not been his best meta. I think it's made him more volatile than we're used to seeing out of Core, where usually he's just so reliable, he's so good, blah 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 blah. He's had some great games this split. I think people are overlooking some of those. I think he's also had some terrible games this split. Or not terrible, but like not good compared to his own standards. So like, yeah, I don't think it's great. But I don't think the bot lane is where you'd win me. I think it'd be the mid jungle combo. I don't think Pioshik or Harry are like incredible right now, and I think you could make the case that like River and Gory are going to overtake them. And then I think LeTigress and Summit are very different players, but like like LeTigress got absolutely dumpstered by Summit in the 1v1, but then also Summit ran it down. So like I don't know. I think if I had to put my money on a team to make sick, I think Team Liquid's 5th, to Travis's point. I agree with him there. I think if I was going to put a team to get 6, I think Golden Guardians might be it. I think it's very possible that end of this first round robin, Golden Guardians and TL are tied 4 and 5. TL beats CLG and then drops games to EG and C9. Golden Guardians beats TSM, beats Dig, loses to 100. Both teams same record, first round robin.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll find out this week during Super Week.
Super Week.
Living
starting Wednesday.
Oh, I like that. Living Legend, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out?
Not much. Just shout out to Alienware, and that's it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks so much. We'll catch you next time. All right, everybody, that's the show. Please stick around because I want to show you this funny video from Dan Peralt, creator of Players. Mark Zimmerman, what do you got for us?
I'm just curious what you're going to show. I want to see.
Good. Stick around.
Is this the new movie that he wrote?
Stick around, Mark. What do you got? Anything you want to shout out? Is Blame Game coming out tomorrow?
Blame Game's coming out tomorrow. I haven't recorded it yet. I got to do that still.
Oh my god.
I'm dying.
Well. And you're going to Disneyland tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay. Well, anyway, other than that, thanks everybody who watched. Stick around. I am gonna hang out with chat. We're gonna watch this video, and I guess normally I feel like there's more to tune into Super Week this week. Riot Games might not promote it, but I'll promote it for them because
we got the dive coming out tomorrow. It's gonna be awesome. We have Sven on for like an hour and a half. He kidnapped me Friday night and refused to stop talking. So I was at the LCS for like 12 hours. Yeah.
Really cool that you've started to do fucking interviews.
I figured it was a kind of a dead sector, and there hasn't been much innovation lately.
We'll see y'all next week.